I'm sure you agree that when you end up with a bunch of tarot decks, as in a, a collection of tarot decks, you wonder about how you might use them. Because in a reading, you can use only one deck, right? Just one, right? But what if I told you that you totally can and you totally should use more than one deck to do your tarot card reading? In this video, I'm going to show you not only how you can choose the decks that you want to use, the pairs or groups, and then how you can use these decks to do an awesome tarot reading. So stick around and we'll even do a bunch of spreads because that's how we roll. Hey guys, this is Madhvi from TaroticallySpeaking.com, my site where I blog about all the things that I have learned from and about the tarot cards. I also review tarot decks and books and make videos via this YouTube channel. I am a professional tarot card reader and I teach and mentor students who are interested in learning tarot. I have also written a book about how you can enhance your readings using storytelling techniques. You can find this book on Amazon across the world. Now, I've included these and other links in the video description, so be sure to check that out. And for more awesome tarot content, just hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Now, the first step, obviously, is to choose the decks that you want to use for your reading. Now, for the purposes of this video, I've chosen 3 decks here: the Universal Weight, the Osho Zen Tarot, and the Game of Thrones Tarot, because right now Game of Thrones fever is totally on, right? I mean, come on. So now we know each deck has its own sort of theme, sort of energy or voice, right? Now, again, it might differ from person to person because of the way the images speak to you. But roughly, for me, right, the Osho Zen deck, right, that has a more Zen-like, more deep, more, thought-provoking kind of an approach towards every situation. It's like, I mean, yeah, it can definitely do predictive readings, but it's more about, what's going on behind the scenes, the deep energies, feelings, and whatnot. That's kind of, provoking the situation. That's what the energy of the Osho Zen is for me. Now, for me, the Universal Weight actually is a very powerfully predictive kind of energy, very everyday energy, because I learned with it, maybe because I started with it, so that's why I feel this is the be all and end all kind of a thing. But yeah, it has that energy for me. Although the images are, very dated, I still feel that this is very, present day, relevant and practical, and definitely can and does have its place in terms of the predictive readings that we end up doing, even for guidance based readings. But then when I combine this Universal Weight deck with the Osho Zen deck, what happens is I can look at only the practical-ish aspects of the this deck, and then the thinking, the thoughts, the energies, and all that comes from the Osho Zen, and that kind of just adds value there, right? Now let's take a look at the Game of Thrones deck. Yes, the imagery is largely based from the show, and the the energy of the deck, or the characters from the deck, their motivations, their sort of provocations, or whatever their character traits, so to speak, they come also from the books that have been written, that have prompted the show, right? So the imagery is very much, say, relevant, or it resonates with people who have seen the show, right? Because I know there are people out there who have not seen the show. What are you doing? Just watch it, right? But then, the character motivations, the character traits, all of that come from the stories and from, the books and the show. So it's all together here, right? So what happens is you get a deck which is very grim, very dark, very gritty. It has a medieval feel to it, and it kind of has a lot of political intrigues going on. So this is a deck that, let's say, if you want to get into the nitty-gritty situations, or very politically intriguing situations, sometimes work related readings, this deck can actually be really super good with that, right? So so now what I'm trying to say is each deck essentially, has its own voice, its own feel, its own energy, its own ethos. While it may speak differently to each person because, of the way you perceive it, which is fine. But, roughly this is how I perceive these three decks. So now, the next step, of course, once you have identified the energies of each deck, say, you have to figure out, okay, what kind of reading am I doing, right? What kind of questions are there in this particular reading? So then you determine which decks to pair up. So for instance, if I have a deck which has a lot of, thinking parts to it, say relationship questions where something like, what's going on behind the scenes, what's the motivation, what are the patterns, this, that, that sort of a thing, I would combine the Rider-Waite and the Osho Zen. Even in, let's say, work-based situations, I know we've said that the Game of Thrones deck is much better there. But let's say we have a situation where, we really want to get into even work-related patterns, what happens, so on. So then you would pair up the Osho Zen with the Game of Thrones deck, right? So what I'm saying is, find a pair that will work with each other depending on the kind of questions that are there, depending on the kind of answers that are being sought after, right? So if you want a more practical reading, which is related to work, but they don't really care much about the thought and the energy, then you would pair the Universal Weight with the Game of Thrones, right? So see what the questions are, see what the energy is being sought for, see what the answers are being looked at, and then look at, obviously, once you figure out which deck has which energy, which deck kind of gives you what kind of answers, and this you will get with experience, with practice, with playing with the deck. And then you combine the right decks for the right questions. All right, so enough with the theory, let's get down to it. I'm going to do some example spreads, okay? And we'll see how this all works out in real life. All right? So I just finished shuffling all the decks, mixing them up. And I'm going to make things a little bit easier this time. I'm not going to make the fan and choose the deck. I'm just going to select cards from the top of the deck. Because, see, Hermit, we're all going to learn something today. Because, just because there's only so much space on my reading table. Okay. And the spread that I'm going to use today is a simple 3-card spread, because this is a very illustrative sort of a thing. The situation, obstacle, guidance spread. Okay. So that way we can see different aspects of how each card, speaks to us, or each deck speaks to each other, kind of a thing. All right. So the first question that is there is a relationship question. How to make my relationship more loving and fun. Okay. So naturally, the decks that we're going to choose are your Universal Weight and the Osho Zen deck, right? Because it's a relationship question, but at the same time, it is also something that will ask, deeper, meaningful stuff. So situation, guidance, or rather obstacle, and guidance, okay? And then I'm going to pull out from the Osho Zen the situation, obstacle, and guidance. Right, I hope this is fitting in the frame. Okay, let's hope so. Okay. All right, the situation. Hermit. Now remember, the question is how to make my relationship more loving, more fun. Hermit basically tells me that right now, each person in this relationship is kind of isolating themselves in their own world, right? That is the energy there. Now let's look at, I'm not going to get more detailed with this because this is, I'm just going to try and keep it short. But there's this isolationist, seclusion kind of energy here. And this applies to each person in the relationship. They're just, busy in their own worlds, or they're isolating themselves from each other. The Osho Zen card has the Fool card reversed. Osho Zen deck gives me the Fool card reversed underneath it. So basically what's going on is that they are each trying to find their own adventures, albeit they're not straying because the Fool card is reversed here. So they're not like looking for adventures outside of the relationship like in other people. That's not what I would go for. But they're looking for something exciting, something interesting. Each person in this relationship is looking for more excitement, but within the confines of the relationship. The Fool is reversed. It's not, completely upright. So he's not stepping away from this. They're trying to see, okay, within their own world, maybe, what kind of adventures they can find, for themselves, trying to make their life more interesting. Now, the obstacle in this relationship, why it's not being loving and fun, is the King of Cups reverse. There's just, too many emotional situations in this relationship. And I know it, although it shows a male figure, but this can apply to both parties. Both people have very many emotional issues, maybe personal, maybe with each other, and they're getting, the emotions are drowning their situation, the emotions are confusing them, the emotions are overbearing on them, and they're not being able to see clearly past the emotional content of their situation. And see this laziness. This is the 9 of water or 9 of cups in this particular deck, and it says laziness, right? Because they are indulging in that. Do you see this image here? He's indulging in all the things and he's just enjoying himself. But at the same time, he is too lazy to change the situation. They are indulging in their emotional issues, that overbearing situation, the emotions that are bearing down on them. They are allowing themselves those emotions to become big issues. They're indulging in that emotional scenario, maybe because it is having some kind of emotional payoff for them. And, they're in that comfort zone there, right? And that's why I'm saying emotional payoff, because they feel comfortable expressing that emotional outburst now and then, and or whatever emotional things are going on, like, oh, I feel this, I feel that, I feel you did this, I feel you did that, and this is how it made me feel, this is how that made me feel. And they're comfortable in that zone, because coming out of that zone would mean bringing about a change. Both of them would have to work on this, right, to make their relationship more loving, more fun. But they are and this is the biggest hurdle, being comfortable in that space that they have created, that conflict that is there between the two of them. Now, the guidance, right? This is the meat of it. How do they make it more loving, more fun? And here we have the 10 of Pentacles. Again, this is lovely card, right? This is a lovely card all around. This card essentially says you need to really look at the practical aspects of the relationship. And not just the practical, but mostly practical, because it's a Pentacles card, but also other aspects, all the emotions, all the feelings, all the thoughts, all the, all the different suits, really, wands, swords, cups, all of them combine into the real manifestation where's the Pentacles, right? And they need to look at the situation as a couple. They need to look at the practical ramifications of what it is that they are doing, how it affects their everyday life, how it is creating an everyday life situation for them. And they need to really maybe spend more quality time together, more time doing something useful and practical and real, rather than just, the feelings kind of a thing. They need to maybe get down to doing something real, tangible and together and working on this relationship and building this relationship. All right. And the Osho's index says compromise. This is the Six of Rainbows. Again, a Pentacles card in this deck. That is the Six of Pentacles here. They both need to come to a point where you see both these characters are going to work out a compromise. They both need to take the effort to come to that point, and work at it. It's not something that's just going to magically resolve itself. They have to find a meeting point, a compromise point. Both of them will need to walk away maybe from their, comfort zones, whatever they are, and come to a point where it is uncomfortable. Look, they don't look happy doing this, but they need to come to that point and they need to work at it, build at it, and make it happen. Wow. So now, do you see how mixing this up has added another layer into the reading, and each kind of ties in with each other, right? So beautifully, so lovingly, and it makes sense. Okay. So now let's look at another example here. The next one is a work question. How to overcome the political intrigue at work and actually get stuff done. Right? So naturally, we said for work, the Game of Thrones deck is really useful. And again, you want something where again, it's very practical. So I would combine that not with the Osho Zen, but with the Universal Weight. Okay. But the main deck here becomes the Game of Thrones deck. So situation, obstacle, and guidance, right? How do you get over the political intrigue and actually get stuff done at work? All right. So the situation here is the Five of Swords reversed. Now I'm going to just turn this card around. Okay. Reverse. Okay. So the situation here, Five of Swords reversed. There's a lot of clashes here, right? There's a lot of political intrigue. Remember, that's the question. There's a lot of political intrigue. Probably one person, right, who is kind of running the show, but in a very passive-aggressive way. I say that because this is a reverse card, right? And everybody else, because of this guy's passive-aggressive political moves, either they need to they take action in the way he wants them to, or they just walk away. That is the situation. This one person kind of making things happen without really making them happen with, by his own hand, but influencing the situation. And what we get here is the Nine of Pentacles, right? So this is the situation, right? Everything is good. Everything is really comfortable, very nicely sort of set up. And again, with the Nine of Pentacles, even the future long-term planning has been done really well. So now if I put it together, what I see is this person really is in a very comfortable spot, right? He's doing well for himself or herself, right? And his long-term and short-term plans have been carefully mapped out. So whatever he's doing, this whole passive aggressiveness or whatever it is, it's a big plan, right? He's planned every little thing. And this is the political intrigue. He is in a very comfortable space. He doesn't have anything to lose, really. And he's planned everything down to the last move. And he's just, creating this political intrigue at the workplace. Well, this is the situation. We kind of sort of know that. So the obstacle to changing this and to actually getting some work done, right, is Lovers, right? Now, Lovers doesn't necessarily mean he's got a bunch of lovers in the office, although that can also be the case. But what I see here is that he's formed deep, close personal relationships with all the people who do his bidding on some or the other level. And he's using those relationships to get them to do what he wants them to do. And that those relationships, those close relationships, have now become a hurdle in actually getting work done. It's all about the politics. The work doesn't get done, right? And here, see, the King of Pentacles, this guy is very comfortable. He looks after them. I'm not saying that he's bribing them monetarily, but the King of Pentacles does have the ability to make people feel comfortable in whatever situation they are. So they feel looked after, and that's what he's doing. He's not just only forming these close relationships with them, but he's also, taking care of their small needs, perhaps. Very practically, he's looking after them in a way that they feel safe, secure, comfortable around him, so they don't mind doing all these things for this person. So what is the guidance? What is the way out of this situation after all? Here we have the Three of Spears. Start looking for a new job, maybe. Start looking for different avenues, maybe. Maybe this mess is not where you're supposed to stick around. Just move out. Look out for yourself and see what else is out there. All right? And the supporting card again, Ace of Cups reversed. This situation is not going to really change. This is just, it's gonna, you stick around, and it's emotionally just going to get to you in a very, very negative sort of a way. So unfortunately, in this workspace, if you stick around, this political intrigue ain't going away. The only way out here for you is to let go of your emotional attachments to this workplace and just start looking for new avenues and new options for growth. Wow. On a certain level, this was not the kind of answer I was expecting from the cards. I thought there was a more workable solution that would come from them, but turns out not. Okay. So the next question that we are looking at is again a work question, but now this has a different tinge to it, right? This is, why does my boss dislike me so much that he creates this political intrigue at work? It's again about the politics, but it's asking about, the feelings, emotions. So which two decks are we going to choose? Game of Thrones and the Osho's End. You got it. So, situation, obstacle, and guidance. Okay. And from the Osho's End, situation, obstacle, guidance. All right, let's do this real quick. Question is, why does my boss hate me so much or dislike me so much that they create this political intrigue at office about it? So, Two of Spears reversed. All right, this is the situation. Maybe this person feels very stuck in his situation, right? Because reverse Two of Spears, essentially, the upright would mean, okay, they're looking at, different ways in which they can escape with their so-called prison. But here, either the boss feels that they cannot run away, that they cannot escape, that they are stuck in this situation, or you feel stuck in that situation. But one way or the other, both of you end up feeling stuck. Maybe you all are feeling stuck with each other, and that situation is kind of prompting him. Just sometimes you just don't like each other, right? And here we have the Adventure, right? This card again, it's very much feeding the energy here. I wouldn't say that it is also giving you, it's like both of you would like to be your work, your job, whatever you're doing, your day even, to be like an adventure, to do something, to explore something, to get some, learn something, or do something different, I would say, right? The desire to do something different here is kind of the energy behind it. But since y'all are stuck in this weird space with each other, that angry energy is always gonna make its presence felt. So the the obstacle here, 10 of Coins reversed, right? the obstacle, right? Because one would say, like, just like the previous spread, that, why don't you just look for a different job? But no, the money is too good here. The money is maybe both of you need the money. Maybe the money is a factor which becomes the hurdle, because maybe whatever you're getting paid here, you may find that, others in the market are not paying that much, perhaps, right? This two of rainbows, which in this one, if you see, it's moment to moment, right? He's just living life moment to moment. He's taking everything one moment at a time, kind of. But this is again also reversed. So you are not maybe at the liberty, really, to live life moment to moment as it comes, right? You're not at liberty to kind of just, quit the job when that you don't like the boss at, and just go. So you have to stick around. The money is good, and for whatever reason you have a bunch of responsibilities, so you can't be reckless, right? But you are stuck with each other, and both of you would like to be your day and your workplace to be like something intriguing, adventurous, and fun, but it ain't. So what is the way out? What is the way out of this? The High Priestess reversed. All right? Stop holding back. Stop holding your secrets just within you. Maybe, fact that all three cards are reversed here is something to look at as well. Don't hold it all in. Have a conversation. Looks like you guys have more in common than you ever even realized, right? Why don't you stop holding it in and talk to each other? Okay? See this. This one is the morality card, right? This is actually the Queen of Swords reverse, right? Miscommunication, or rather coming across as too stiff, too they unable to kind of communicate, or having not communicated with each other, is actually, giving each of you are carrying a wrong impression of each other, and it is time to set the story right. Maybe it is time that both of you stop what's the word, not talking with each other. This whole, I'm not going to talk to this person. Maybe it's time for you guys to get together in some kind of an informal situation and just open your hearts out to each other, and you might realize that you guys have more in common than you know, and that might kind of set the tone for a very different relationship. Okay? Instead of disliking each other, you guys might actually end up, hanging out with each other like buddies, right? There's more to this. There's a lot of interesting stuff here that you can explore. See this? See how interesting this happens when you start using two decks? All right. Now, the next question that I have is, again, what is the deeper meaning behind the recurring patterns in my relationships, both romantic and professional? Ooh. Now, for this one, I think I'm going to have to use all three decks, and I'm kind of going to not use the situation obstacle guidance, but I'm just going to pull one card for each, So, what is the deeper meaning behind the recurring patterns in my relationships? I'm going to go with Universal Weight and Osho Zen. And the recurring patterns in my relationships at work, I'm going to go with Game of Thrones and Osho Zen. Yeah, see how this all comes together. All right, so deeper meaning behind recurring patterns in relationships. Knight of Swords reversed. Right? If the whole point is you rush right into it, you rush right out of it, and essentially, the Knight of Swords is a problem solver. So if you look at every situation as a problem that needs resolving, it's not going to work out. See this? The deeper energy here, again, oof. I'm not joking. This is not funny. we have this card again. This is the Knight of Swords from the Osho Zen. It's called fighting. This one's also reversed, right? So it's always a fight. It's always, that is the energy. And not everything is a fight. Relationships actually are not fights at all, right? It's not a fight for supremacy. It's not a fight for who's the boss. It's actually finding a way to work together to kind of, it's something that requires harmony. It's not and again, it's all air. So it's not a mental fight for supremacy either. So this, because all the issues of the recurring patterns in my in relationship issues, this, and if you look at every relationship as a struggle for intellectual supremacy or something like that, then yeah, that is why these relationship patterns show up. And so what about the work thing? Seven of Coins reversed. So the lack of patience, sometimes you need to spend the time building relationships at work, right? And we're talking about work relationships. That's why I'm saying that. Sometimes you need to spend the time building these relationships. You need to spend the time kind of, doing every small and large thing to create that relationship, to make it more real, and then and only then can you take advantage of it. But when you start taking advantage of the situations, or you're not really before they're ready to be taken advantage of, or if you're not investing so much in that relationship as such, then these professional relationships are really not going to work out for you, right? And see this again. This is mind reversed. Again, this is the Page of Swords in this deck. So you're taking your thoughts and you are not utilizing them in a better way. You are not utilizing your ideas in a better way. You're using them for destructive purposes, and that is the cause of the issues or patterns in the work relationships. Again, another point to note here is 1, 2, 3, 4. All these cards have shown up reversed again. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done here, right? Especially, like, for instance, if you look at this, the personal relationships or romantic relationships, it's all about the intellectual fight for supremacy, really, or who's on top. It's not like that at all. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't need to be. And at work, the repeating patterns essentially show a destructive thought energy, which is kind of used in a very half-baked or half-hearted manner to cultivate work relationships, which is again not going to bear fruit because it's either being harvested early or not being harvested at all, or you're not really investing much into it and into making them be the kind of relationships that they have the potential to be. So it's very, this destructive energy is not helping. This impatient energy is not helping. Wow, okay. There's a lot to unpack here. But I hope that these examples have shown you how you can use different decks together, right? As we've used today, the Universal Weight, the Game of Thrones, and the Osho Zen deck. Depending on the questions that you have, how you can sort of put it all together, choose the deck and use the decks to their best advantage to get more information about the answers to the questions that come at you during the reading. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. Please click the like button so I know that you liked the video, because that totally encourages me to make more such videos for you guys. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, where I post my card a day readings using a totally different deck every month. And if you want a guidance from the cards that is very, very specific just to you, or if you want to learn how you can also read tarot cards, then totally check out the links in the video description for more information about how you can go about doing that. Once again, thanks for watching the video. I'll see you again in my next video. Till then, stay good, be good, and play with your cards. Bye now.